My name is Lee Shipley, otherwise known as Sparta Reef. This is our 29-gallon Nano tank. This is going to be a somewhat long video. I'm going to have a lot of information in it, a couple of different clips compiled together, show the entire setup and system, how it runs and functions each day, a little bit of how we put it together. I'm going to try to identify as many coral as I can, our fish and invertebrates, and share with you the names. Our children help name everything, so we enjoy the names that they picked out. For the most part, we kept them all. And there's a couple snails from our cleanup crew. Our auto top-off valve, I'll get into that a little later. Got a cabbage leather, excuse me, got my tongue tied there. Cabbage leather coral. That is an acroporia, not exactly sure which variety. Got some red dragon's breath mackerel growing off of this plug that has a Jeremy's green digi growing off of it. Behind that, competing with some algae, I've got an encrusting Monty. Not exactly sure what variety. And amazingly enough, it's actually outgrowing the algae. So I haven't been too concerned about that, but you will see I will be cleaning that off with a toothbrush. There is our green mandarin. My son named it Drake because it is a dragonette. And we've got green hairy mushrooms, green striped mushrooms, a few purple mushrooms in the tank. I'm not 100% sure what variety of Favia this is. It's a brain coral. Another form of digi, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. And I believe that's a Posipolia bird's nest coral, along with some pallies that hitchhiked on the rock. There's Dancy Pants, our sexy shrimp. That was our first sexy shrimp, and of course has grown to full size and is a female because she is the larger of the two. And I got an Idaho grape shelf-forming Monty cap. I'm not 100% sure if I'm saying that correctly. We've got some yellow polyps, another shelf-forming, but this is a purple Monty. It hasn't completely purpled up yet, but it's getting its color back. And we've got my daughter named this Hell Freaky Firefish Pinky. That's our favorite fish in the whole tank, and also the most visible. It shows itself most frequently. We've got frog spawn, and right there is, oops, come on, come into focus. Focus, focus, focus. There is Lala, our male sexy shrimp. Dancy Pants was named by our son. Lala was named by our daughter. And we've got, that is a Superman coral. Not exactly sure what kind of zoas those are. Purple mushroom or blue mushroom. I've seen it called both. Green Recordia. Got an Aiken here. Started with only 2 heads on that and now has 14. And that was after 4 months, give or take. Gary, our turbo snail, doing his job, cleaning off that shell pretty nicely. Some more hairy mushrooms, green striped mushrooms. Hitchhiker barnacle was on a oyster shell when I purchased some live oysters to feed the fish. I'll feed the fish a little later, and you'll get to see that. And I've got an encrusting gorgonia. I'm not sure what kind of coral that is. I'd like to know. This is supposed to be a purple digi. Hasn't really purpled up yet. Got some pallies here. Hopefully I'll get some shots of them opened up later. Like I said, I'm going to be cleaning the tank, so a lot of stuff's going to close up and then it'll probably open up later. So that's an overview of the front of the tank. Got our Jabo WP25 wave maker. Does a pretty good job of making a wave in this little tank. A lot of people would say it's actually too powerful for this small of a tank, and I would slightly agree. Although I have it running at 50% power, and it seems to be just enough to keep excellent flow in this tank. And the fish did take some getting used to it, as did the corals. But everything overall seems to enjoy the high flow much more so than it did in the 55 gallon. So here, of course, I've got a Reef Breeders. This was a value model, but it's an older model, so it contains some LEDs that the newer value Reef Breeders do not contain. It is a 2-channel dimmable LED. I also have this cheap little LED strip in the back here for accenting the tank. This black line, 1/4-inch line, is a siphon that runs over to my RO station. That is to drain the tank. Also do a manual surface skim with a bucket. I'll do that later. And we got our auto top-off valve here that also automatically refills with salt water. I'll show how that works later as well. Now here I'm going to take a break from filming to do a quick scrub of the tank, and then I will resume filming and take you over to the RO station where we will start the water change. Okay, I took a toothbrush and did what I could to scrub pretty much everything. I got a lot of debris floating around in there, and this MagFloat glass cleaner I took and tore off a piece of a green sponge, one of them scrub sponges, because I felt that the Velcro-like cleaning part on the inside was actually scratching the glass. So I'm going to try this and see if that does a better job. And I also cleaned off the pump with the toothbrush, and lots of rocks and corals as well, gently with that. And now I'm going to scrub the glass, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I cleaned the glass. I put the sponge back down underneath so that I can save it for another glass cleaning. I removed the carbon sock, which I will replace the carbon, show you how I do that as well. And next step, I'm going to try to get as much of that floating debris out of there as I can. I'm going to do some surface skimming, and also I'm going to have to grab my siphon and siphon a few things out of there as best I can, in addition to running the automatic drain. So, be back in just a moment here. Alright, this is after I've finished doing the water change. I apologize, there was a problem with the camcorder. I wasn't able to actually record the process, but I'll do that at a later date. And we see Pinky there swimming around. And there's Bilbo reconstructing his tunnels. And I can see the fin there of Drake. Let's see here if I can get his reflection off the back glass. Where'd you go? There he is, right down there. And this is, of course, his reflection. Not the best image here, hang on. See if I can get a better one. There he is. Our green mandarin, he's camera shy. See if he comes out. There he is. Here's a better view of that encrusting gorgonia. Right there. Believe it or not, that is a coral. And did not notice this until I was doing the change, but that is a baby mushroom growing next to the blue mushroom there. I'm not sure what variety that is yet. It hasn't quite colored in. And again, corals I need help identifying. You need to know exactly what kind of acro that is. It's kind of a greenish color, green polyps with kind of a yellowish green or brownish colored body to it. And I'm not exactly sure what kind of favia that is, if it is a favia. This particular coral here I'm not 100% sure on either. I'd like to know what kind of pally those are, or zoa. That particular coral, I'm not sure, I have no idea what that's called. And this I was told is a purple digi. It does kind of have a little bit of a purple color to the polyps. The exact name of this pally I'm not sure on. Well, here you can see one of our starfish. And the autofocus doesn't seem to be doing us much justice. We also have brittle stars in there, but they're the micro stars and they're hidden throughout the rocks. Occasionally we see a leg, like right there. Whoops, sorry. Trying to zoom in, but it doesn't like to focus at that much zoom. You can see the little leg. See if I can point it out. Right at the tip of my fingernail there, dangling below the coral. It went into the rock. You can't see it now anymore. Alright. Well, that is it for the tank. Now, going over the top off here, I got this set up so that this float valve controls when the auto top off runs, and I'm going to cut here for a moment to go over to the actual heart of this particular operation. Okay, here we have our on-off switch for our auto top off, and it is currently off so that I can work on the tank. Over here is our RO system. Goes into this freshwater reservoir, and I can either drain water from it, which I'll need to do when I change the carbon, and that pump also runs water to the top off. Now this here is my siphon tube, which I will start draining into this bucket, and as you can see, it automatically started draining. And here I have my pod farm / live rock storage. Sorry, I'm trying to get this cord out of the way here. These are actually pod farms, pod condos that I built the other day in an effort to try to harvest some pods out of this live rock so that I can transfer them to the main tank. But they're not ready yet. So, here you see right now this siphon drain is rather slow. But we're not going to worry too much about that. And I need to turn off the fresh water and turn on the salt water. One way or another here. Doing this one-handed is a little bit more difficult than having both hands free. Well, come on, there we go. And since I'm going to be draining some water here, I'm going to start my RO unit, and that runs to a drain. Flush valve is open and the DI bypass is open so that I don't use up my DI resin, and that's going to run for a few minutes. I'm going to empty out this carbon sock into a garbage and refill it. I prefer to use reef carbon pellets, but right now all I have is the premium activated carbon crystals, which are a bit more fragmented and produce quite a bit more dust, which is why I prefer the pellets. Anyway, I'll be back in a moment here. I'm going to test my salinity in my refill tub because it is not airtight, and I want to make sure the salinity is correct before I do my top off. And also I'll double check the salinity in the tank before removing any water. What I'm going to do is after I refill this carbon sock, I will rinse it with fresh water to get as much of the carbon dust out of it as I possibly can. Be back in a moment. Thank you very much for sticking with it. Okay, and here we are back in this area where we kind of left off a moment ago, and then I cut back to the tank here. This is why I rinse my carbon in RO water. If I didn't rinse it, that would be in my tank, and I do not want that. So, note to anybody using carbon, make sure you rinse. Anyway, I've got this line runs from my RO reservoir, and this line runs from my saltwater reservoir. I just turn the switch to switch which one's running, and when I take water out of the tank, the pump automatically refills with salt water. That's it. That's all I do. It's pretty easy. The most difficult part today was scrubbing the rocks with the toothbrush and pulling some of the algae out, which really wasn't that difficult, but I'm only going to be doing that and changing the carbon probably once a week. Other than that, changing the water only takes me about probably 10 minutes to allow it to drain and refill. But while it's doing that, I can do other things. So I really like this setup. Eventually I will replace those valves with electrically controlled valves, and then I can set it up with another one of these reservoir units instead of using the garbage can. I won't have to monitor the salinity as much then, and that will allow me to then do more, well, it'll be automated, completely automated. I won't have to actually do the water changes myself. Although every once in a while I will still want to do surface skimming using that little bucket there. That is all for now, and I appreciate you watching the videos. Please give me comments on how I can improve. Anything else you'd like to see. I apologize that I didn't really do any how-tos. I do plan to do some in the future. I just need you guys to let me know what you'd like to see me do. Thank you.